This better be epic.
Before this video starts, I want to quickly remind you guys that only 16% of people watching this video are actually subscribed. So if you enjoy this video and you want more like it, be sure to subscribe. Now, on with the video. I'm one of the, 2 people out there who remember seeing this movie in theaters. While it certainly didn't flop, it performed very subpar for a Dreamworks film, resulting in about half their typical revenue. Now, in this video, I'll be reviewing the movie, and we'll be taking a look at the reason why it didn't do so great compared to the other, and usually inferior, Dreamworks properties. So, let's start with some history. Part 1. What the fuck is this movie, and what happened to it?
Alright, this is gonna be what the fuck?
Megamind was directed by Tom McGrath and written by Alan Schoolcraft and Brent Simons, and stars Will Ferrell as a blue alien. It originally released into theaters in November of 2010, with a box office total of about 322 million United States dollars. Now, that doesn't sound so bad until you realize the budget of the movie was $130 million. Generally speaking, you have to double the budget of the movie for things like marketing, room for going slightly over budget, and stuff like that. So that would put this movie at costing DreamWorks about $260 million. So this movie certainly wasn't a flop, but when you consider that the vastly inferior Madagascar 2 was made for roughly the same price and made like twice as much money, you start to see that Megamind definitely wasn't the hit DreamWorks was banking on it being. So what happened? Well, it could be that people already gotten their animated movie fix that year. Most families don't go to the movies more than once a year, according to statistics. So casual audiences were probably already lost when the absolute juggernaut that was Toy Story 3 came out earlier that year. But something else happened. What other movie could possibly have taken away the rest of the casual audience? Despicable Me released about a month earlier. Now, it's safe to say that nobody saw this one coming. A new studio releasing their first animated feature completely destroyed DreamWorks, an already well-established brand at that point. Now, no matter what you think about the Despicable Me movies, I personally think they serve as adequate family fun, mostly. But those movies will get videos all of their own, believe me. But you can't deny the popularity of Despicable Me, and the absolute minion craze it spawned. Plushies, phone cases, Halloween costumes. Despicable Me was everywhere. It's funny these movies came out so close to each other, and both featured a bad guy who's learning to do the right thing, and one or more side characters referred to as Minion. So yeah, I think it's safe to assume that when it comes to the box office, Despicable Me killed Megamind. Part 2. So, is it any good? Yes. I don't know what else you want me to say. I'm really happy that meme culture has made this movie popular nowadays, because it led to a lot of people now discovering this movie, and I couldn't be happier about that. DreamWorks seems to have a way of creating memeable properties. And this does work as an effective long-term marketing strategy, even though I highly doubt a big corporation like DreamWorks was aware that meme culture would explode in the mid-2010s, but you never know, I guess. I remember seeing this movie in theaters when it had just come out. I was like 10 or something at the time, and I remember liking it more than Despicable Me, and I actually remember seeing it with a friend, and we'd constantly pretend to be Megamind and Minion on the playground at school, so it definitely had an impact on me. I remember getting the Blu-ray in like 2012 as a birthday present and being incredibly happy about it. I watched it over and over and over for a while, and then I kind of forgot about it. Now, flash forward to 2019, and I just finished setting up our new home theater, and I was going through some old 3D Blu-rays I had laying around, as our projector has a wonderful 3D function. I wanted to test it out with something, so I found Megamind and put it on and remembered just why I loved it so much as a kid. And why I was wrong. See, when I was a kid, I saw a funny blue man, a slightly edgy skeleton thing, cool gadgets, a funny side character, AC/DC and Ozzy Osbourne music, and I thought it was really funny and edgy. And in a way, it's just that. But when I recently rewatched it, the movie is so much more than that. All the reasons for liking it as a kid that I just mentioned are still there, but that's far from the movie's appeal. I actually found that this movie has very mature themes. Spending your whole life believing you are supposed to be one thing only to slowly realize there's an emptiness in you and that you don't know what to do about it. Thinking you want to change your life, but in reality, you just want good company. Putting on a big show for the world because you don't want the real you to be seen, but there's always people that can see straight through you. That was really powerful, and yet it completely fits with the humor. Not a single second does the movie feel disjointed or do the tones clash. Everything is balanced out perfectly. One thing I don't talk about enough on this channel is pacing. See, pacing can be very important because it can completely change the feel of a movie and people's opinion on it. Let's say a movie has a lot to say, has beautiful themes, gorgeous visuals, fantastic acting and directing, and it has the best story you've ever heard. But there's a poorly forced side plot that grinds the natural pace of the movie to a halt, causing people to get bored. It can ruin the perception on a movie. Now, would I argue a great film that drags a bit in the middle is bad? Absolutely not. In fact, pacing is something I very often overlook, unless it's like ridiculously fast or ridiculously slow. But this time, the pacing deserves a very special mention. Megamind has perfect pacing. The information all unravels organically, not too fast, not too slow, just perfectly. The stakes change organically as well. It throws in another villain, but it doesn't feel forced. We see where Titan comes from and how he becomes the true villain of the story. Megamind and Roxanne's relationship gets enough time to develop. It just all flows perfectly. This constant developing of who the villain is, going from Megamind to Titan to tricking us into thinking it's Metro Man back to Titan, allows the movie to have an original structure while still not feeling overbloated or overstaying its welcome. So yeah, pacing and structure are practically perfect, and I was not expecting that upon rewatching it. Let's have a look at the characters now, shall we? Minion is your fun sidekick character who actually feels like a little more than that. He's a true friend to Megamind, and he always tries to stay on his side, but that doesn't mean he shies away from letting his opinions be known. He even gets a character arc independent of Megamind's where he learns to accept they're the good guys now, and he learns to accept that at his own pace. This is a comedic side character, and this movie gave him a proper arc. Roxanne is your typical love interest. She's not really that afraid of Megamind. She works well enough. Hal is your standard nerd who's trying to get a girl way out of his league, and he might have had somewhat of a shot if he had just remained a nice guy that didn't let anger consume him. The rest of the characters all serve their purpose well, but let's have a look at the big one. And by that, I mean the one with the big head. You know, the big head. Oh, okay, that was bad. Megamind is such an interesting character. He has great lines. Will Ferrell does a great job with the line delivery, and you can hear that he's having a blast. He's not human, and he's not quite used to Earth. Not that weird, having been raised up in a prison by some criminals. His arc in this movie is a great display of nature versus nurture, where he learns that he's actually good at heart, but that he was just taught to be evil. And Metro Man is, again, just like all the other characters, very funny, but we also get to see his human side. He was chosen to be a superhero, but he never chose to be one. The true yin to Megamind's yang, and at the end, they both do the right thing. The movie is also packed with lovely details. The No You Can't posters parodying Obama's presidential campaign, which was still pretty recent at that time. One detail I personally love is his magical watch. In the beginning of the movie, we see Megamind use his watch to disguise himself as the prison warden. It turns him into the person he's had it scan, but it also makes his voice sound like that person. Now, later in the movie, when he regularly turns into Bernard, he doesn't actually take over his voice. The behind-the-scene reason for this is obviously that they didn't want to have Megamind played by someone else half of the movie, but the movie actually explains this. See, when Megamind turns into the guard in the beginning, you can tell his watch also records the guard's voice. But when Megamind turns into Bernard, he's in a hurry, so he doesn't have time to record his voice. Pretty cool detail if you ask me. Now, all that being said, not every joke lands. In fact, there's quite a few that don't land. Not that it really matters because there's so many jokes that there will always be another joke soon that will land. I also don't think this movie would be too great for the youngest kids, but what do I know? They may enjoy it just fine. But like with many movies, you want to be an adult to get the most out of it. Oh yeah, quick side note, only for the people that care. Dreamworks, your 3D is so good. Like, you guys put the virtual cameras a little further apart than Pixar does, leading to a stronger 3D effect. And it looks great. Again, not that the average person will care, but I do, and I mentioned it, so there. And like every movie I've reviewed so far, we've reached that point in the video again to give this movie a grade. Now, with all the positives I just mentioned, and very few negatives I just mentioned, I don't think it's surprising. This movie gets a 9 out of 10. I just really like it. Sorry, I love it. Sure, some jokes don't land, but that doesn't hinder the experience at all when 10 seconds later, another one will come along that totally nails it. Now, I really want to know what you guys thought of Megamind. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Be sure to let me know in the comments, as I'd love for my reviews to open discussions. My review is just the beginning, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Again, only a small percentage of you guys that watch these videos are actually subscribed, and it looks like you guys are really enjoying them. Be sure to follow my music channel and my social media in the description below. I'll see you guys next week, and yes, I teased a Star Wars video series that's definitely coming very soon. And yeah, see you guys next week.